Welcome to the second series of High Street Histories, where this time the focus is on the south side of Lowestoft. I'm Dean Parkin.
And I'm Ivan Bunn.
We're going to start this episode with that iconic Lowestoft view, which actually we need to thank Samuel Morton Peto for this view.
Yes, indeed. And his mark can be seen here with the Harbour Hotel on the left. This was part of his plan for the seafront that was built in the 1840s and completed by 1847 with two hotels, the Royal Hotel, of which more a little bit later, and of course the Harbour Hotel. Apparently the Harbour Hotel compared with the Royal Hotel was classified as a second-rate hotel.
Okay. It's got that rather plain look about it, hasn't it? It's not so ornate, is it?
Yeah. And of course the other building there at St John's Church, dedicated in July 1854, and at a cost of £5,500. John Lath Clements, who was one of Peto's architects, designed it. So this is the view that holiday makers coming to stay in Lowestoft in the late 1800s. This would be their first view of the town.
And we can actually see an early 1890s holidaymaker in the window of the Harbour Hotel. We can see her looking out the window there. This is actually a little bit earlier than the Harbour Hotel. It's 1886.
Yes.
And we know that because we can see there a building being constructed.
Again, this has Samuel Morton Peto's stamp all over it.
Yes.
The harbour, he was a director of the Norfolk Railway Company. They expanded the harbour greatly. The building of South Pier, the laying out of the yacht basin, as we can see in the foreground here. Behind that, that stark building, that's the first-rate Royal Hotel.
Right.
And then further to the right, to our right of that, you can see Marine Parade and Marine Terrace, completed in the late 1850s. And on the left of the hotel, of course, is the promenade with the statue of Triton. The Royal Norfolk and Suffolk Yacht Club was established in April 1859. In 1886, they decided they needed a clubhouse, and here you can see the first clubhouse being constructed. Here is the completed clubhouse. That remained there until 1902.
I love the fact that it had a long afterlife, didn't it?
Yes, it didn't actually just get demolished. It got dismantled. They took it to pieces, and it was shipped up to Crown Meadow and became the dressing rooms in the Crown Meadow.
For 87 years.
Yeah.
and was finally pulled down on the 10th of February 1989.
Right. The new clubhouse was built on its site.
Yeah.
Here we see it in the 1920s, and it is a Grade 2 star listed building. The two reasons for the listing: architecturally for its Art Nouveau style, and advanced design for its date, according to the listing, as the work of George Skipper, one of the greatest commercial architects of the late Victorian, early Edwardian era. That's why it's got a star and not just Grade 2. And of course, if we move on...
We're walking along the Esplanade, aren't we?
Yes, we are. And so we're looking down Peto's Esplanade, 440 yards long when it was first constructed. On the left hand, in the middle distance, is the Royal Hotel. The gardens you can see here and the building later have replaced some of Peto's original Italianate style double lodging houses. There were 7 pairs of them along the seafront. I understand that in the 1930s the town council had great far-reaching plans to update and modernise the seafront here. Unfortunately, because of the Second World War, nothing came of it. But the shelter, you can see there, built over one of the buttresses that supported the original sea wall. That's very much a product of the 1930s architecturally. That's kind of a hint to something that was planned but never really happened. We've moved up along Peto's promenade now. You can see there's the second Triton statue, which marks the extreme southern end of Peto's promenade.
Okay.
And opposite that is the entrance to the roadway, still there today, Parade Road South. Of course, in the distance, this is the Wellington Esplanade, or Wellington Terrace, as some people refer to it. These are Grade 2 listed because they are, in my opinion, these are the architectural jewel in the crown of Lowestoft, and of course in Kirkley. These were designed by John Lath Clements for Peto. According to the listing, they were erected in 1852-53, but other sources tend to indicate that in actual fact they weren't really completed till 1856.
And you also got beyond the Wellington Terrace.
That's High Kirkley.
Okay, and that's just what?
The open fields.
Open fields,
yeah,
right.
Still open fields.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the date of this photo is?
I should say this is probably as early as the 1860s. And I love the little lad sitting.
The young gentleman.
Yeah. So we've now moved to the high ground, to the south of Wellington Terrace. This must be early 1870s. In front of the terrace, you can see the embryonic Wellington Gardens, and we know that they were being developed in the late 1850s and laid out. The road in front, the land still belongs to the owners of the property in the terrace, and apparently there is a management committee. It's on a huge lease, but I often wonder if one day they decide the lease has expired and they can't have the road open anymore. But the gardens are, in some respects, private land. Unlike Wellington Terrace, Kirkley Cliff Terrace is not listed because it's built on a hill. It lacks the symmetry of the Wellington Terrace. Yeah. In early days, the land and the fields and the open ground in front did belong to the houses as well, although most of that has been sold off now. Here you can see one of the reasons why there was so many shops and businesses developing behind these in London Road South. They needed supplies, they needed food, they needed all the commodities. They could go to Haley's and get their wallpaper.
Yeah. Go to Red Regis and get their sports gear.
Yeah. So this is all part and parcel of the growth of South Lowestoft and the parish of Kirkley.